Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Lovely morning from Ahmed Al-Khamis School, Farwaniya Educational Zone, and we are so grateful. This idea was taken from a lovely book, and this book is indeed a lovely gift from my supervisor and my trainer, Ms. Sadiqa. And I am so grateful for my colleague, Muhammad Saeed, who is willing doing this wonderful experiment with us. Lovely morning, Mr. Muhammad.
Hi, good morning to everybody, and thanks for giving me or allowing me the chance to describe actually this new experience with you, Mr. Hussein. In fact, I'm going to talk today about what happened with me during my class visit. My lesson today was for grade 4, lesson 3, which is talking about different types of flags. And then we moved to activity book, also lesson 3, which is dealing with finding words in a crossword, ordering words alphabetically, and so on. In fact, my class visit consisted of, or was divided into 3 main sessions: pre, during, and post session. During the pre-session, Mr. Hussein discussed with me the main aim behind this class visit, or this new experience actually, which is about applying Bloom's taxonomies in class. Of course, we discussed Bloom's taxonomies, different levels of thinking, the 6 levels of thinking, starting from remembering, ending with creating. And then Mr. Hussein showed me the 2 forms to be used in assessing teachers in the classroom. And as you can see, the first one here is related to the teacher's performance and how far he applied the 6 levels of thinking according to Bloom's taxonomies. As you can see, starting from remembering, ending with creating. And the other form that will be used in evaluating or assessing the teacher's performance in the classroom will be related to the students' responses or students' performance within the classroom. And as you can see, this one is mainly related or student-specific. Here, these blanks are for the students' names, and the numbers from 1 to 6 are mainly related to the levels of thinking. So here, the student's name will be written, and in front of him, the type of questions used, which trigger which level of thinking. And here there are observations regarding examples of the questions the pupil answered, and so on. That was as far as the pre-session actually was concerned. And then we moved to the during session, in which I started asking pupils mainly about different types of flags. They were required to come out, draw some flags, and then other pupils were required to describe the flags their classmates have drawn. And then we moved to the finding words in the crossword and ordering them and so on. During that, I've seen Mr. Hussein and Mr. Tariq, the head of the department, actually writing down some notes and so on. And then after the periods, and here we come to the post-session section. And here Mr. Hussein showed me actually the notes they have been writing. The first one, which is related to the the teacher's performance in the classroom. And as you can see here, Mr. Hussein started making notes concerning the different types of questions I asked students during the class. And as you can see, he started writing down the numbers of questions and the type actually of questions and the type of thinking they are related to, and started making out the percentage actually of the questions used. So here, for example, we find that 53% of the questions were related to the remembering level of thinking, and then we move to the 23% related to the understanding and so on. And unfortunately, as we got higher, I got 0%. Yeah. This where creating, evaluating comes. And actually, let's confess it that unfortunately the majority
Can
of
you show us the chart?
Yes, and here actually,
Yes.
this is a chart showing also the 6 levels of thinking and the percentage of questions used during my class. And here, as you can see, the highest percentage goes for the remembering level of thinking, unfortunately. And then we move to understanding and so on.
Your comment about this experiment?
And this one actually is the second form, which is related to students themselves. As you can see, students' names and the type of questions they answered and the level of thinking each question is related to.
Nice.
For my own impression or my opinion about this experience, of course, it was a new one. Not only a new, because I do have some idea about Bloom's taxonomies and how beneficial they are in classrooms. And I do believe that applying and using Bloom's taxonomies when teaching or while teaching actually will be of great help for us teachers, not only for supervisors or head of departments when assessing teachers, because this is a different part of it, but as far as teachers are concerned, these taxonomies will help us, number one, to develop different levels of thinking. And as far as we are after, all teachers of course are after creative, active learners.
Yes.
So
And also differentiation.
Exactly. These tools will help us to enable the students, the cliche, let's say, to get out of the box, think in new ways, to start realizing, describing, analyzing, creating, evaluating.
Yes.
Not only it will help them think in new ways, but also it will promote their, let's say, self-trust.
Yes.
It will enable students to use
having lovely jobs in the future as designers also.
Exactly.
Yeah. What about our next step about the web's depth of knowledge?
Yes, and we moved on to web's depth of knowledge. And actually here we're talking about the idea or the fact that we shouldn't be restricted to using some verbs which are related to a specific level of thinking, because we are, as we know that Bloom's taxonomies, we are dealing with 6 levels of thinking. Each one of them is described using an amount or a number of verbs. However, the problem is we should not restrict ourselves with these verbs, saying that, let's say, describe is related to the remembering level. We should deal with them in a more flexible way. Yes. So, for example, let's say I've drawn a flag for students and I ask them to describe this flag, and it is a new flag, the one I designed myself. So in this case, the pupil is not memorizing, is not recalling facts. In fact, is looking at the flag, is analyzing the flag, seeing all the patterns, the shapes, the colors found in this flag. And in doing so, while describing the flag, he's actually analyzing. And he is also evaluating, because I can simply ask him, do you like the flag or not? What do you like about it? Why you don't like it? So we should be more flexible actually when using these verbs. Thank you, Mr. Hussein.
No, I have one question about your personal comment about these new tools for evaluating our colleagues inside the classroom. What's the difference between the form which is very general and this one which is very specific?
Well, in fact, I guess this new form...
And also, by the way, the Rashomon effect, we talked about it. Can you tell us about the Rashomon effect?
Okay, to start with the effect of using these new tools, I guess for us teachers it will help us in to start thinking, planning for our lessons in new ways, and actually it will help us in our performance in our classrooms. It will help us, it will give us the ability to differentiate, to classify, to know the levels of our students, to be able to make it simpler.
And to promote also the neglected part of our job as a researcher.
And to start realizing that even what we call the low achievers, who may not be good at, let's say, analyzing, creating, they may be good in recalling facts, which is a part of, or a level of thinking in itself to be appreciated. It will help us also in performing our designing tasks for our students according to their levels of thinking. and as well in assessing or evaluating.
What about the Rashomon effect, Mr. Muhammad?
Well, to make it short, the Rashomon effect is talking about
Japanese film?
yes, the Japanese film, which is talking about a murder or a crime, and a group of educationalists who attended the film, and they realized that all the witnesses who witnessed actually the crime, none of them came up with the same version of what happened, and they concluded with a simple fact that there is no version of reality, or as we can say, there is always the other side of the truth. There
So
is
this
no
is why we
single
have the
version.
specific standards
Exactly.
and certain consensus and agreement before,
Well,
during,
exactly.
and after. Thank you very much, Mr.
You're
Muhammad.
welcome, Mr.
Thank you.
Hussein.